Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Princess Lakshman. I live in Brisbane, Australia, and this is my attempt to be of service to my Muslim brothers, sisters, and children during this COVID isolation. I am doing some recordings to address certain topics that are relevant at present within our community. And so, inshallah, today I'd like to talk about anxiety. So there comes a moment in everyone's life when the mind perceives stress. Now this occurs when we feel that there are too many activities to manage in too little time, or that these activities that need to be managed are too expensive or too difficult, too embarrassing, too unfamiliar, too dangerous, too harmful, and so on. So these perceptions of too hard, too expensive, too embarrassing, too dangerous, too fearful, and so on, trigger the brain to release stress hormones in the body. The most common stress hormone is cortisol. As this hormone increases in the body, the physical reaction of the body is to feel overwhelmed. Now, feeling overwhelmed results in the following symptoms for most people. There could be heart palpitations, there could be sweaty palms, there could be dry mouth, fatigue, there could be constant worrying about the future, constant trying of controlling outcomes about future. There could be fear of going anywhere or fear of interacting with people. And these are just a few of these signs and symptoms. Now, the natural response to these symptoms is one of two things: fight or flight. That is, we choose to either fight back or to run away from the situation in order to minimize or eradicate the above symptoms that I stated. The best part about knowing this science about anxiety and its symptoms is that anxiety can be controlled with the empowerment of your own mind. Anxiety is more often than not a feeling of exaggerated reality or imagined reality. In other words, a false reality. When we overthink things and make it seem larger than it actually is in reality, we are exaggerating reality. When we overthink things and start adding visuals in our mind of things that we fear may happen, but are actually not happening in reality, we are imagining a reality which is completely false at that moment in time. It's like playing a movie and it's not real. You're just playing it over and over, and the visuals keep playing in your mind. And that repetition is what causes the heart to beat faster, the palms to go sweaty, the mouth to go dry, the fatigue to set in, the worry to increase. All of that increases because of the repetition of the cinema of your mind. Yeah? So, let's talk about how we can manage anxiety. Step number 1, acknowledge and admit that you have feelings of anxiety. So if you have those symptoms, just acknowledge them and admit that, okay, I'm now aware I have these feelings. So most times what people do is they start to identify with these feelings and they attach a label and they say, I'm anxious. But what I'm asking you to do today is reframe your mind and say, I'm aware of the anxiety. So can you see the shift? You're not saying I'm anxious. You're saying I'm aware of the anxiety. As soon as you say it like that, you become more in charge of what you can do about it. When you say I'm anxious, you're living it. You're identifying with it too much and you don't know what to do about it. But as soon as you say, I'm aware of the anxiety that I feel, you know that you have something that you can do about it. What's the next thing that you do is, after you acknowledge and you admit that you have these feelings of anxiety, these signs and symptoms, then you go and tell someone that you trust that this is how you are feeling. Someone you trust, someone like your GP, someone like your counselor, your coach, a trusted family member. Now, once you acknowledge and admit it to yourself and to someone you trust, the next steps of managing anxiety becomes easier. Number 2, you got to look at your diet. Okay, if you're a smoker, you have to minimize it, because smoking can increase the nervous system response and increase anxiety. Similarly, caffeine can do the same. You also have to increase your water intake. Hydration is important, because every time we feel anxious, every time we have the display of anxiety, we become dehydrated, and you need to replenish that water in your body. Try and get enough sleep. If you're sleep deprived, your nervous system will suffer even more, and the anxiety increases. Also with food, choose wholesome, fresh food, more protein, less carbohydrates, especially processed carbohydrates and processed sugars. Exercise. You must exercise every single day, even if it's just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but you must exercise every day. And sit quietly for at least 5 minutes daily and breathe deeply, staying very aware of each breath. Every in-breath, be aware. Every out-breath, be aware. And tell yourself this positive affirmation. Every day, in every way, I am better and better. Thank you, Allah. Every day, in every way, I am better and better. Thank you, Allah. Every day, in every way, I am better and better. Thank you, Allah. You can also do a few more steps to change your thought process when it comes to any fearful thought that arises. Because always remind yourself, you are a Muslim. When you focus on the fear takes over the level of faith that you have in Allah. And wherever there is fear, faith is diminished. So as a Muslim, go back to your faith. Okay, give faith more power, not fear. And I'm not saying that being fearless means having no fear. No, being fearless means having less fear, as the word suggests, fearless. So being fearless means having less fear, more faith. So every time a fearful thought occurs in your mind, become the observer of it, become aware of it. Okay, don't be consumed by it. Instead, say, okay, acknowledge it. Yes, I am now feeling fear. That way, again, just similar to how you said, I am feeling the anxiety instead of saying I am anxious. So even here, you're not saying I am fearful. You're saying I am aware of the fear that I'm feeling right now. As soon as you say it that way, you become more in charge of how you want to feel in the next moment. Because you can choose not to feel the fear. Because you've just admitted that you now are aware that you're feeling the fear. So that in the next moment, I can choose not to feel the fear. Fear is never a pleasant thought. Okay, it's always going to manifest in your body through some unpleasantness. Immediately you will start imagining, some visuals that bring about even more fear. So, and which means that if you constantly engage in content that evoke this feeling of unpleasantness, know at that very moment that it's not the right content, because it's just feeding your fear and it's taking you away from faith. So go back to your faith. You are a Muslim. You are a Muslim. This is the time to remind yourself. This COVID-19 isolation is the time to remind yourself that where there is so much fear in the world, now is the time as a Muslim to go back to your faith. Immediately start imagining a more happy and joyful outcome of the situation that you're playing in your mind. I know it sounds difficult, but when you put your mind to it, you'll be able to do it. The mind is not able to differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. So if you're going to imagine, if you're going to play a movie, play a good one. If you're going to imagine something, make it good, make it joyful, make it happy. it will entertain any thought that you plant in it. The mind is like that. So plant a good seed, plant a good thought. Consciously choose only happy, positive, and joyful mental images and thoughts. And repeat this daily in order to form a habit of only positive thoughts. Inshallah, this little piece of advice has been helpful, and if you feel that you can share this with the rest of your family members and your relatives and your other contacts on your list, please go ahead, and inshallah I will make another recording addressing another challenge that we're going through, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.